Ready? Go.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm Brendan Filbert, Managing Partner with SalesWorks, and I'm excited to help you uncover how you can leverage webinars, town hall meetings, and other virtual events to reach your next prospect. My business is all day, every day, helping you get in front of your next opportunity, hopefully via an introduction. And the opportunity may be your next great client, or it might be expanding a current client that you have, or maybe it's securing your next contract engagement or your next job. So that's what we're all about with our sessions this morning. And I am so excited to partner with Chris Motley on this effort. Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Motley. I'm the big fish at Motley Creations, where we make you look good.
Well,
So I was thinking about this as a short aside, as I have a teenage son, and I was thinking about what do I do? And there's many times I talk to my son, and it just bounces off his head, and then a coach or a teacher come in, and they talk to him and say it just a little bit different, and he goes, "Oh." So that's what I do, right? Is I do managed marketing services. I help small to medium-sized businesses with big goals find their right-size solutions to execute on their marketing strategy. And we develop brands and images that they need to have. So that's it.
Awesome. Very excited to have you with us today, and we're going to dive in and get started. I am going to go ahead and shut webcams off on my end so that I don't end up losing all of my interwebs, that whole bandwidth thing. It just doesn't seem to quite be wide enough for the band that I need to cover, I guess. All right. So what we're going to be diving into today is how to use webinars in your prospecting strategy. So everything is all about creating content, thought leadership. How do you engage and build relationships with your perfect customer? So with that, I always like to start our sessions with just kind of okay, who have we specifically thought of when we're creating the content that we did this week? Now, the topic that we are digging into, I think, is one that's of interest to a lot of people right now. What we are specifically thinking, though, is right now professionals have a group of clients that really need to hear from you, and they really need to know how to solve big problems. And particularly if you're in human resources or finance and accounting or health and safety, there's so many topics that people are just, they're thirsting for insight on. And we only have so many hours in the day. And webinars and these virtual events can allow you to deliver immense value to a lot of people with an investment of 1 hour of time. And to George's point earlier, before the session started, he was chatting with the fact that he delivered one of these and had over 60 people that jumped into the conversation. And this is how people are engaging right now. And I'm glad that you're here with us today to learn how you can jump on to the value that this can be creating in your prospecting effort. The other folks that we are looking to serve with this is anybody that is in a business development role that we all have this goal of adding value and building relationships and helping people understand what we can do for them, how we're going to work, exactly where they're going to find benefit. There's so much great information that we can provide, but we only have so many hours in the day, and our prospects only have so many hours in the day. So webinars allow you to leverage technology to add value during that sales process and help that prospect wrap their head around exactly why they would work with you and what the benefits are to hiring you. And then finally, there are many people on the call that are here because you have referral partnerships. And perhaps these referral partnerships have been making introductions of 1 or 2 prospects on a somewhat regular basis. What webinars can do is webinars can give you an avenue to reach multiple prospects within your referral partner space of relationships and provide your clients with access to your information or to your clients. So we want the referral partner's information to also add value to our process. So I got to figure out exactly how to say this. I got my tongue over my eye tooth and I couldn't see what I was saying. My apologies. But you know, the biggest thing that we want to think about is creating tools that allow us to really just expand our reach with the thought in mind that we want to manage our time well as we do this. So everything is all about one to many right now in terms of how can you expand and reach a broader audience and provide value. And webinars let you do that. So that's what we're all about today. Now let's start with who is currently offering webinars. So what I'd like for you to do is use the questions pane, like Chris mentioned, and just do a really quick chime in on whether or not you're using virtual meetings or webinars now in your prospecting, or it's something that you'd like to do.
Okay, got some people that are hopeful in doing it.
Okay. And I know I've got a few people on the call because I've seen your webinar invitations coming out. I know that you may be part of a company that is currently offering webinars. And what we can help you with is if you already have webinars that your company is doing, I'm going to give you some insights today in how you can perhaps better use those webinars as an engagement strategy, because unfortunately, training in a lot of cases is what we call entertainment, which is where we provide value, but it's really just we push something out there with hopes that people are going to gravitate to it without the call to action or the path in mind for how it's going to turn that lead into a client. And that's what we want to talk about today. So it's not just about how to deliver a great webinar and wow your audience. I also want you to leverage and make sure that you're using this as a tool. Now, when we think about webinars, there's so many different reasons to do this. And I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking about why this is really a good strategy for a lot of people. And I think just about everybody on the call would benefit from incorporating virtual meetings. And as Chris calls them, we call webinars podcasts with pictures. And what we have to recognize is that during the buyer journey or that prospecting or sales process that we're currently using, buyers of today want to really understand just how your solution is going to work before they pull the trigger and hire you. That is just the way that our market is evolving right now. And when you deliver webinars, it allows your customer to actually experience your value, similar to, you know, it's a case of I've got several of you that are participating in one of my workshops, and you're on this call and you're experiencing a fraction of the content in the free version that you have access to in the paid program. But the thing that you want to think about is when you deliver webinars, it's not about just giving teasers. We need to think about how to really give away some of our best stuff and really make a positive impact in someone's life, because we are going to dig into that whole mental trigger thing where we talk about the emotional equity that needs to be created with our prospects for them to be comfortable with hiring you. Because right now, people are just scared. They're scared of a lot. It's everything from, you know, the results coming up of an election to health and safety of, are we going to get sick, to, is all the civil unrest going to be a safety concern that I need to be aware of for my family? I mean, everywhere we turn, we're confronted right now with fear. And in our businesses, it's one of those things that we kind of need a little bit of security and a little bit of stability and that emotional safety. And when you deliver webinars, it allows your prospects to actually engage with you and build a connection. Even if, like right now, it would be great if I could see everybody's face. We still have that voice-to-voice contact though. And I still have the opportunity to show you that my heart is with helping you be successful. And that's why Chris and I are doing this. You know, when the pandemic started, literally, we've been kicking around the idea of doing this. And while most people are running from new initiatives during a pandemic, the first week he and I said, you know what, people are really going to need us and we need to dive in and do it. Now, at the same time, we're delivering value. We're also a service that we get paid for our services. There's no Red Cross on the side of my house. And Chris, I don't think you've got one either, do you?
No, no.
We're not running nonprofits, and we do have to serve our audience and get paid for those services. So with that, we want to make sure that there is an engagement strategy with everything that we do. So our process is delivering value, and there will be about 30% of the people that we engage with that are going to look at this and say, well, if that's what I get for free, what would I get if I actually became a client and really engaged with this process? And then when you think about delivering the value added communication to your clients, what you need to think about is how can you leverage your time and consistently add even more value to the relationship? Because I mean, we all recognize that in life and business, there's so much of it that's not about what you know, but who you know. And the more we continue to open doors to other resources and opportunities, the more we're going to retain that customer and expand that relationship as well. So that's what we're all about. Now, we know also that prospects want to minimize their risk, and experiencing your service and product allows them to do that. This also gives them the opportunity to do that test drive before they'd actually buy. So think about it as a little bit more of a step up from kicking the tires. And then also, we want to design our webinars and our virtual events to really help our customers quantify just what could we do for them. So you want it to be experiential and not just the pictures and the conversation. The more that people engage, the better. All right. So Chris, what would you add to this?
I think you're covering it beautifully. I was just looking, and George had put in the questions pane that he's been doing this and explaining his benefits of becoming a subject matter expert. And, you know, you've covered all of this really well, but what I thought was great about George is he was considering doing it, what was it, George, quarterly? And now people are asking for monthly. That's a really good sign right there. That's wonderful. So.
Well, and we will make sure that we talk during our conversation today about what the optimal frequency is for webinars, because people really want to get used to you showing up. And the more you can get into a consistent rhythm and serve them on a regular basis. And I recognize that if I do something once a month, I may not have access to everybody's calendar once a month. But if I do something on a weekly basis, it gives people the opportunity to do more. There's more chances for them to engage or to jump in on the topics that they're more interested in. So there's some other stuff that you just want to keep in mind as we dive into the how-to. Now, we're sharing with you during our presentation today, and let's see, Chris, is it possible? Well, I don't think you can upload it once we get started. We'll make sure that we email these out when we're done, because what I want you to do is we've got a worksheet that helps you identify what you need to accomplish during your virtual event. And we want to first of all think about who is it that you serve. And when you think about what you want to accomplish, we don't just want to show up and demonstrate how smart we are. It really needs to be about serving a purpose within a very targeted audience. And that's the whole reason why we begin every session with the thought of who are we serving today? And you notice that list doesn't say anyone and everyone. The list ends up getting pretty narrow. And when you get narrow, it allows you to really hone in and solve a big problem for your attendee of that day. And we want to make sure that everything that you deliver, this is not just about a teaser. This is not just an overview. You need to really solve problems. My goal and objective, and I know Chris is aligned with me on this, is to help you walk away with something today that you're going to make money at next week. And that's the entire objective. And then, yes, the more we do this, the more our business benefits from this as well. Because again, at some point, people look at, this has helped me so much, I want to engage even more. Or I want to share this with others that are struggling with some of these same challenges. This also lets you demonstrate the high level approach of how you are going to serve your audience. And it allows you to showcase your best work. So when you think about creating your webinars, the more that you can create them with the, here's an example, or let me demonstrate, the more we can make it experiential, the better your clients are going to walk away from it and say, that was a really good investment of my time and effort. So when you think about structuring, what you want to think about is dividing your webinar into 3 sections. So you have a third, a third, and a third. So the very first part is what's in it for the participant. Why should they listen to you? And what are you going to do that will help them? And then the second part is where we transition into what is a field trip through your service, or how you would solve problems, and how can you demonstrate that during the webinar. And then the final third is the how do they engage you, or what does it look like for someone to work with you. And you want to make sure that your webinars are broken up into those 3 sections. And when you organize the session in this way, and you can take it to the extent of, when I first started, excuse me, when I first started doing these, I would literally put up a table, and in the Word document, I would structure exactly what the talking point was, which slides, and how long should I talk on each one of them. And then once I put it together to that extent for my very first few webinars, I actually went into the notes section within. And does everybody know how to use the notes fields in PowerPoint? Can I get a really quick yes, no?
Can I get an amen?
Yeah, can I, Bueller, anybody here? Are you using this? So I will tell you that, and I'll do just a really quick, I'm gonna jump out of my, the view here. If you come up here to the very top, you see this spot right here where it says view. Then you're going to buzz over here to where it says notes fields. And then what you can do is you can actually write and script in here exactly what you're going to say on every slide. And this is a really powerful way to approach it. So we'll jump back over here into slideshow. Oh, it took me all the way back to the beginning. So, but what I want you to think about is when you're putting all this information together, the more you can take it down to where you don't have to be as in the moment thinking about what to say or how to say it, and the more you can be organized, the better your presentation is going to be, the better your flow will be, the less you're going to have the ums and the uhs and the repetitive words and phrases.
Right. That's one thing I'd like to, sorry, Brendan. The one thing I'd like to say is that I think really fast, and I'm a visual person. So if you know anything about that, I talk really fast. And we had done a few of these, and Brendan called and with very great diplomacy goes, "How do you think you did?" Which means you're talking way too fast and people are having trouble keeping up with you. So I suggest maybe do a dry run, do a practice run, record it so you can actually hear how you present information.
And that is really, really good insight, because I'll tell you that the more we do these, the better we're getting. And I was actually listening to a couple that we did from way back before Chris's influence was quite as evident as it is now. And I was just really enjoying how much we have improved. But that is one other point that I do want to make is don't procrastinate because you want it to be perfect. I am enjoying the evolution of how we are improving with this. And every one of these that we do, I want to make it just a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And by the end of, once we've done 100 episodes, we're going to be in a lot different place than we are now. But if I waited until I had everything perfect and it looked like we'd done 100 episodes, look at all the opportunities that I'm going to miss out to serve you. And I don't want that to happen. I would much rather help you today than procrastinate. So just keep in mind if you're on the fence about doing this because you want it to be perfect, perfect is the enemy of the good. So my goal today is if you walk out of here and you set up your webinar, your first one that you're going to dive in and do as a regularly scheduled method of delivering value, I'd love for you to do one within the next 30 days based on what you're learning. And then that's a win for us because you are jumping in and demonstrating what you can do for people. Now, when you're putting together your webinars, I want you to select your voice or perspective that you are going to deliver the content. So the first one is, are you going to be the Sherpa on the mountain that, I've been here so many times. It's kind of like, Chris and I don't even think we really want to add up how many years combined we have in terms of serving. That would be just scary. I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel that old. But we've got decades of experience and we have seen a lot of mistakes made and we've seen a lot of good decisions made. And we have the benefit of being the Sherpas, that there's a lot of experience. Now, for some of you, it's kind of like we're also taking a little bit of the journey with you. To Brenda's point, when we started, we're going to experience a September like nobody has ever had before. I mean, we are all in uncharted waters as we're navigating through the economy that we're in and everything that we're dealing with right now. So there's a part of this that Chris and we've been there, done that. We've been around the block. I mean, we were both working through multiple recessions. But with that being said, everybody's in uncharted waters now. So there's an element of what we're doing right now that we're on the journey with you. And there may be some of you on the call that you are brand new in what you're doing. And you are on the journey and you're just slightly ahead of where your prospects are. But what you need to think about is even if you're on the journey, if you are willing to be vulnerable and transparent and share your experiences and the good decisions that you've made as well as the bad, so that people can make better decisions with their own resources and effort, there's a lot of benefit to that. So just think about which perspective would you take. Now, while we're doing this, I want to just do a really quick poll based on who our audience is. So which perspective would you take? Would you be that expert or the guru, or are you along the same journey with your clients? Maybe just a little bit ahead of them. So let's just do a really quick chime in, see where everybody's at. So we've got several on here that are going to be the experts. And then we've got a few that are on the journey as well, which is fantastic.
Just really quick though, is if you could go back to SalesWorks YouTube channel and you can see, when we were on the journey, when Pivot was brand new, as Brendan mentioned before, as we've both been through recessions and things like that. And we pulled information from, success leaves clues. And we pulled information from people who were around in the Depression and what they did and how they survived, and not only survived, but thrived. Right. So I suggest you take some time, maybe, this afternoon, and go look at the YouTube channel and kind of check out some of the other topics we have there. So.
And one of my favorites along that topic is there's one that's the 7 strategies to sell in an economic downturn. And I will share with you that that one, I don't even remember which episode number it is, but that is one that gives you just some proven approaches that lead to business. And they worked, there are a couple of them on there that they worked right after 9/11. And I mean, when we were on the brink of war, it there were just some really good things that came out that people were able to still leverage and continue moving forward and be highly successful. To your point, Chris, they
Right.
didn't just survive, they thrived. And you know, we'd love to share that insight, and that's what we're here for. So okay, so now with that, so now that we've got an idea of where our group is and kind of the perspective that you want to take, let's dive into the actual structure of the presentation. And I am delighted to share this slide deck with anyone who would like it. And if you think about it, so what I want you to evaluate, I've got the entire outline here for how you're going to put this together. So this is the first section of it, and then you've got the second section. So you remember I talked to you about dividing it into thirds. So this can kind of help you with your the transitions and how you're going to move between those three different sections. So the very first one is, remember, it's all about what's in it for them. So it's what compelling questions are you going to answer? So nowhere in here, and I want everybody, if you're multitasking, please come back right now for this. Because nowhere in here do I want you to spend the first 10 minutes of your presentation talking about you or your business or how smart you are. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay?
Yeah.
I really want you to immediately dive into your presentation and solve problems. You noticed today that our introductions were not, Chris and I each probably, I don't even know if we used a full 30 seconds with our commercials, but we did ask our audience to introduce themselves and share with us why they were here.
So, Brendan, I have a question for you.
Please.
People are walking around the world thinking about one person. Who is that? It's not
It's
me.
not me.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah.
And we have to demonstrate the fact that we build relationships. And I will tell you, if you start the first 10 minutes of the presentation talking about your story and who you are guaranteed to lose probably a pretty good percentage of your audience, because time is precious. And if I'm going to ask you to spend an hour, I know what some of you make. I know that I've got people in here that are writing me a check for up to $500 based on an hour of their time. And I know with that number in mind that the value that I deliver needs to exceed that. So telling you about all the great things that I can do and a commercial does not do anything to enhance your experience in how I can help you and make that a good investment of your time. So you're going to notice that as we walk through each one of these steps, it's all about them. And then you can talk about how you can help them. But you're going to notice that there are several different questions that you are going to ask and answer during the initial part of the presentation. But you really want to make sure that they recognize that they are not alone. And there are so many people that are just really, they're afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid they're going to be attacked or belittled or demeaned in some way, shape, or form. So it's really important when you are putting this information together that you make it okay for them to share wherever they are at. And we don't ever want anybody to feel stupid participating. And I'll tell you, there are so many people that you may think that your content and what you do is obvious. It's common sense. I mean, Chris and I have this conversation all the time about, well, people, we've been doing this for decades, and it's obvious to us because it's all we live and breathe. But to somebody that is brand new to this, there is nothing that's obvious. And because you don't know, it doesn't make you any less of an amazing human being and able to be highly successful at business development. So that you just know that when you're putting the information together, that's something that you really need to make sure that you do meet your audience where they're at.
Yeah.
And then we dive into how you can help them navigate. You can do this through sharing stories and examples. I love when you use, like Chris has done a phenomenal job here of plugging in a visual. And I want you to really think of how you can engage your audience on several different avenues. So remember that people learn from seeing, hearing, and experiencing. And we want our webinars and all the content that we share to be delivered at each one of those levels. And Chris does a phenomenal job of engaging on the visual side and selecting phenomenal images. Like I said, it's the podcast with pictures works for us because so many of my clients, as you heard from the folks who were chiming in with introductions earlier, you're lifelong learners. And I want to help you learn with these sessions. It needs to be a training session. You're going to walk away with action items that you can implement. It's not just about coming together and hearing about, oh, that's what they did. Oh, that's a pretty cool thing. Maybe I should learn how to do that. No, we want you to walk away with at least an understanding of what it's going to take for you to do it. And then the encouragement and the safe environment that lets you go do it. The other element that we want to make sure that's included is the fact that there will be obstacles. And this is where you provide a lot of the benefit. So I'm showing you how to put together the webinars. And there are some of you that are going to take this and you are going to run with it and you're going to be a rock star. And I'm going to be so excited to watch your success. There are others that are on this call that are going to say, you know, I'm getting stuck. I'm having a hard time getting from this stage of my prospecting to the next stage. And I know that if I had your help, I could get there faster. And then at that point, you share how you can help them navigate the next stages of the journey. And that's the thing is people absolutely love to buy. They really, really do, but they hate feeling sold. And during the webinar, you want to create that environment that allows someone to engage and learn and buy from you without feeling as if you're being pushy in any way, shape, or form. So that's really important to keep in mind. I will tell you that if you lay this out well, the strongest close you should ever have to use is, so what would you like to do now? And how can I help you get where you want to go? And that's it. Would anybody in here have a hard time asking that question during any of their presentations? Give me a quick show of hands.
And just a quick note here is that I forgot to mention in the beginning is that we're going to be sending out a link to this whole video so you can watch it over and over again, and we will be sharing this deck and a PDF with
the worksheets.
Yeah, the worksheet. So you'll get a link to all of this stuff after
the session.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is everybody on board with you were okay with asking for business in the way that I just walked you through? I haven't seen the show of hands yet. Come on, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a few that are good. So there are some of you that think that that's still too pushy? Because we do want to ask for the business. And we want to make it easy for someone to be able to engage. So we got to show them the path. All right. So now let's talk about that intentional success. That success leaves clues. So now let's dig into what desired outcome do you have for doing your webinars? And I want you to chat in for just a second. Tell me what you'd most like to accomplish with your webinars. Do you want to expand and cross-sell your current clients? Are you doing it because you want to reach new prospects? Or are you doing it as a tool in your funnel that you are specifically converting those prospects to clients? What's your desired outcome? Let's hear from our group. Okay. All right, fantastic. So a lot of folks are doing this because they want to use it as a lead magnet or as something that is going to be at the top of the funnel, attracting new people into your audience. Okay, which is fantastic. And then you've got others that you're going to want to cross-sell that when you deliver these. Okay, and then I've got, okay, and that's a really good point, that if you have a very diverse funnel, you may want to do all, and that's great. Just don't try to do all in the same session at the same level, okay? So for example, this session is about, it's about reaching new prospects, and we're promoting these across our social media platforms. This is an entry point for a lot of people who are new to SalesWorks and they're new to Motley Creations. And then at the same time, I also recognize that I have clients on the call that are great clients, and you're involved and you're hip deep in my sessions right now, but I can still deliver value and help you understand new concepts. But I've got to think about which audience am I serving first. So there are some of you that are my clients that are like, well, we've already talked about some of this. Okay, yes, we have. And the thing is maybe you haven't jumped in yet and you're on the fence. And in that case, the more I can expose you to a concept or an idea so that you recognize the value, you know, to Chris's point in the beginning, you know, he may tell his son something over and over, and the son, it just goes over his head. But a different way of having the information presented, now his son is like, oh, I get it now. Okay, that's a big part also that can play into what you're doing. And then also when you think about converting prospects to clients, it's, you can have everything you want, just don't try to have it all in one webinar. Okay, so think about what your first purpose is, and then your secondary, and then your third, and make sure that everything lines up. And you'll actually see this kind of fleshed out in our example that we've got for the handout for you today, because we do suggest that you actually walk through who your audience is. So can everybody see the worksheet that's up on the PDF?
Yes.
I just flipped over to it. Okay, fantastic. So you recognize who your audience is, and you'll notice that I've got multiple audiences on here. But then I'm thinking about what is their objective. Remember Chris's question? You know, who's everybody in the world walking around thinking about? Okay, what's in it for them? And then with that, you want to align it with your objective and how you're going to serve them. And we have to have whatever the promotion is or that path so that everything is all outlined. And this is one of our worksheets that Chris and I use. And then we also have, with this, you're also going to be receiving a blank copy. So you can fill your own information in there. And I would love for you to put together what your purpose would be behind doing a webinar and kind of what that webinar path would be.
See,
and that would be fantastic to share.
This is one of those points where, you know, that Brendan alluded to earlier, is you may think that's completely obvious. But to me, that's brilliant, because so many of us have all these great ideas and they're daydreams until you write them down. So take these documents that we're going to send you, and you know, maybe what we like to do is pick a day that it's going to go, that you're going to do this webinar, and start advertising it, and then work backwards from there. You may not even have your webinar made yet, but Brendan and I work better sometimes with our feet on fire. So
which is why Chris is normally doing the images to this at 10 o'clock on Thursday night.
But so yeah, write it down. Change it from a dream, a daydream, to a goal.
Fantastic. All right. So remember that every webinar that you design needs to have the conversion path mapped out.
Mm-hmm.
So the mental triggers, and if you have not yet listened to the episode that we did here a few weeks back on mental triggers, the session is titled Content That Converts. And it talks about the mental triggers that the buyer journey encompasses, and you want to think about how you create that conversion path through all of your content. So when you deliver a webinar, what you want people to do, similar to what Chris just gave you. Chris just gave you an example of a commitment step. It's where you set a date and you make the commitment to, I am going to do this by, and then you put the date down, and then you work backwards in terms of mapping it out. And then the more you share those dates with us, the more we can support you, and the better that you can also recognize whether or not we are a resource that can help you accomplish your goals. In some cases, it's enough to just say, I've got an accountability stake in the ground and I can get her done. In other cases, you may actually benefit from participating with an entire group or community of people that's going through this along with you. And then you're going to want to engage at a different level. But there's the conversion path that's laid out. And we want our webinars and all of our thought leadership content to be very intentional. Normally, what we do when we create content is we want to demonstrate our expertise. So we're focusing on a couple of those mental triggers that are the authority and that liking, or is that so, would someone actually enjoy working with me, building that sense of community. But what we miss is the fact that that's only a part of the buyer journey, and they need several other steps to take place. I've talked about a couple of them today. With reciprocity, this one is the commitment trigger. We need to make sure that it's included during our presentation and that we're very clear with how you're going to map this out and move forward. So now, with this in mind, I want to know, what action will you take now based on what we've talked about this morning? Is this something that you want to go ahead and jump in and start setting a date? Are you ready to start thinking about what the topics would be? The other thing also that I want to share with you is, we're talking about webinars, but these same content, this same information also works incredibly well with things like Facebook Lives or creating videos. There's so many elements of what we've talked about today that just go into putting together great marketing presentations that deliver value intentionally to your target audience to expand the relationship and create that path for them being a client. All right. So where are you at? Let's get a sense of our audience right now. Anybody want to chime in? Oh, I'm so excited. We've got somebody that is ready to go.
All right.
I'm so excited. Fantastic. Okay, who's still on the fence? I know I've got folks in here who are like, I don't know if this is for me or not, and that's entirely okay. And I know that I actually have a couple clients that are there, that you're still on the fence with it.
So think about this in terms of, like, I've seen accountants do more of a town hall type of deal, especially when the PPP happened. Is, there's a ton of questions, and you feel like a broken record. So this is a format where you can talk from one to many instead of one to one, or you can have that conversation once, record it, and then refer clients to it so they can be educated in some of the new laws, or whatever has to do with your particular industry. And one of the things we started saying when we first started this webinar was, You know what people do when they panic? They buy all the toilet paper. So we need to, George and I have been talking as this has gone on, and we need, he's developing as a subject matter expert, and that's the SMEs. That's what's one thing that we want to do is take charge of our particular area of interest and go out and disseminate information to help people make smart decisions.
And that is so critically important. And that, the thing is we do not, I don't think there's anybody on the call that wants to have somebody buy from you if they are not in a position to be able to take advantage of your service. We don't want that, because you're going to have a less than optimal experience in engaging if you do that. We recognize that. But then if somebody's not quite ready yet, but we know that they're going to get there. So if you checked all the boxes of being a perfect client for me, then I want to help you get ready to where I can help you, or you don't need me anymore. Maybe you can just participate, sit on the outskirts, take advantage of one or two of these webinars here and there, and accomplish all of your sales goals that you have. Whatever that stretch goal is, that's fantastic. But I bet that if I leave a really good footprint in your life, you're going to tell others about that experience. And that's what we really have to be thinking, is about how do you leave such a positive impact with your audience, deliver so much amazing value that you are really able to, just again, deliver as much value to as broad of an audience as you possibly can. So now let's dive into the communication path, because we started just a little bit late. I am going to run over just a few minutes. I'm going to promise you. So I think we're probably going to be at like minute 45 in the recording. So if you have to jump off to run to an 11:30 meeting, I completely understand. You may want to stick around though, because there's probably some pretty good information, if you can stay with us, that you're going to want to hear live. And then you can also participate in the Q&A as we wrap up. So when you think about promoting your event, and I'm going to tell you that this is normally where people fall down. They build it, it's kind of like that field of dreams. This is not an example of build it and they will come. You really are going to have to work your keister off in order to promote the event. And you may only end up with a few people in the very beginning that are participating, and that's okay. Because remember, even if only one or two people show up, that's still giving you the opportunity to deliver great value. The other thing that you may want to do is, just like we're doing right now, record the content and then share it on a YouTube channel or via Vimeo, or there's so many different ways that you can create a library of amazing content that you can use to send to prospects who want more information about what you do and how you can help someone. Or perhaps it's going to be part, like what we're doing right now. It becomes a regular conversation. And this series that we're doing right now, probably 4 months from now, we're going to reference something that we talked about in more depth today at a high level. And we can send you back to the presentation where all we talk about is webinars. So think about how you can repurpose all of the different content. So when you think about promoting this, we want to share it via social media platforms. So you want to make sure that you push that information out. You need to recognize that, much like inviting someone to be a client, it takes repetitive touches. You need to think about a sequence of emails. We typically put together about 4 messages. And there's some of you that have 4 emails from us this week for today's session. And maybe you heard about it on Monday because you received the recording link for last week, as well as the invitation to join today. Maybe you saw it on Tuesday when you received my prospecting tip. That's my regular weekly email that goes out. well, it's our regular email. Chris is going to start jumping in and providing more content in those as well. And I'm excited to say, perhaps it was Wednesday when it was the social media post that went out, or Thursday when it was the resend of the article, or the Tuesday email to an audience that didn't open it, as well as I sent another email that went directly to my webinar audience only. So if you are on our regular communication list for webinars, we got about 100 people on that list now, I'm excited to say, then you received that message telling you about what our topic was and why you wanted to join. So that's about 4 messages in 1 week. So if you're going to do a one-time email, you're going to need to think about structuring 4 different or 5 different emails that are going to go out, because not everybody sees every single email. So you want to make it super easy for them to hear from you. And normally people quit too soon. We only send 1 or 2 messages. The other thing that we want to make sure that we do is that we ask our referral partners to share the information, and we ask our audience participants to share, because that social proof does so much to expand your audience and build your credibility. And then once you've created those invitations, then you're going to follow up with event reminders that tell everybody, hey, don't forget to join. Or you'll see an email, much like we sent out, that said, hey, remember, this is what we're going to be talking about. And you craft all of the messages. So I'll tell you that this is a really good guideline for you to follow when you are creating your event promotion. So think about it truly like a campaign. And even if you start jumping in and doing them on a weekly basis, you are still going to want to put the effort in to helping your audience recognize why they need to participate. So make sure that you keep going. Much like a marathon is 26.2 miles. And one of my business partners that I had through, actually, he helped form SalesWorks with me. The way that he would put it, he would regularly run in marathons. And he's like, don't ever forget that 0.2 miles of a marathon, because that is where you lose most of the runners, is in that 0.2 miles. So this is not just 26, it's 26.2. So don't quit too soon. Make sure that you go back and you review who it is that's participating. You follow up directly. You send one-to-one messages. And then the other thing that you recognize about your webinar is it needs to be about how you convert those relationships into clients. So that means you need to schedule one-to-one meetings. You need to get to know your audience so that you can deliver even more value, or they again can recognize where they fit in to your mix of whether or not they're going to take advantage of your solution. And you're only going to have that in a lot of cases with that direct connection. And then if it's not time right now, you need to have a nurturing funnel in place. By all means, start doing weekly emails. Even if the weekly emails consist of, I saw this absolutely amazing video this week that I thought I should share. Or, hey, think about this. Maybe it's an inspirational thought. Maybe it's a really cool quote with a beautiful image or something behind it. Do something that gets people used to hearing from you. And then make sure that you add your, every new prospect goes into that weekly communication. And then lather, rinse, and repeat. This is about discipline to the process. There's a reason why we're on episode number 25. And we didn't just do a series of 3 or 4. You've got to make sure that you commit and then you become regular so that people can plan around you. And now, with that being said, all right, we have opportunities for you to engage at several different levels. We've got a phenomenal event sponsor that's the Women's Business Center, but I know I got guys on the call too, and that's entirely okay. They got stuff for you too. It's everything related to business leaders and owners that are trying to figure out how to navigate the pivot and how to run a better business. And we've got some amazing events coming up. You've got the link here on the slide deck. I encourage you to go check it out. They've got an entrepreneurship series going that's on Wednesdays, and then we're your Friday episode. And it's all about sales and marketing and navigating through the pivot. And then finally, I want to share with you something that Chris and I are working on right now. And we would love to have anyone that's in a position of where you're trying to think about how you diversify your business so you can create knowledge products or have the opportunity to engage through thought leadership. We're creating the Brand You program, and we'd love to have you join. And then there's one other thing that I wanted to share with a few of you that are on the call right now is I also have a whole group of amazing professionals that are on this journey of how to be consistent and disciplined with their prospecting. And my prospecting forum, I'm getting ready. We're going to be closing this group that's going to be starting now. You have the opportunity, if you'd like to participate, it's a 12-month long program that you would dive in with a bunch of other professionals that are on this same path. And then in that group, you have weekly assignments to work through and the opportunity to connect and engage with that community on a weekly basis. And I have a few more spots available within that group. So if you would like to talk about whether or not it's a fit for you, if you would benefit from regular structure, support, accountability, and the opportunity to have just that coach in your corner, then we should talk. So just shoot me a quick message and my contact information is on the screen. If you'd like help with making sure that the presentations that you do and that your webinar is everything that you want it to be and is as amazing as it can be, I can't emphasize how phenomenal Chris Motley has been throughout this process.
Thank you.
And his information is on the screen. And I recommend you reach out to him if you really want to look at how to just amp up your efforts. He's been a phenomenal resource. So we've covered so much ground today, and I got a dry throat and I'm going to start coughing. What have I not talked about, Chris?
I think you've done a beautiful job. Really, what we'd like to say is just get started, right? As she said in the beginning, is perfect is the enemy of the good. So just get started. And I think one of the things that I've learned from this is I can see the buyer journey for my prospects and clients much more clearly just from doing this kind of stuff. So it makes you think about things critically. So get started, folks.
Awesome. I'm excited. All right. So remember, to get what you want, you must help others get what they want. Have a great day, a wonderful weekend, and I wish you all good selling. Take care.
Bye-bye.